In 1986, while America buzzed with excitement over every play in Super Bowl XXI, I, Jake Thompson, a radio operator from Tennessee, quietly set foot on the damp soil of Honduras. Gone were the stadium's glittering lights and roaring cheers, replaced by sweat-soaking heat, the relentless hum of insects, and dense jungle canopies that seemed to swallow men whole. I never imagined I'd leave the familiar South, its smooth roads and the warm scent of butter-drizzled cornbread from home, to step into a covert proxy war where enemies wore no helmets and allies sometimes made you question their loyalty. My role was simple: build a makeshift airfield by the Rio Coco, just miles from Nicaragua's border. But simple in the military's dictionary meant a gauntlet of challenges, ground hard as stone, each stake driven into earth a battle with stubborn wood and thick red clay. Our team, a mere few dozen, carried MREs, soggy packaged meals like wet bread, some cassette tapes of Bon Jovi, the Top Gun soundtrack, and occasionally the twanging guitar of Livin' on a Prayer. I still recall sitting in a bunker, helmet heavy, earpiece crackling from humidity. Yet John Bon Jovi's voice somehow lifted our spirits. The guys nodded to the beat, as if we were at a Burger King, not a jungle. No TV, no newspapers. News came via a creaky radio, often cutting out mid-sentence. We lived in our own bubble, focused on the mission, aching for home, steeped in eerie rumors. Locals whispered that at night, ancient trees murmured secrets, and somewhere in the dark, something massive not of this world prowled. I scoffed, chalking it up to tales from Tennessee plainsmen. But deep down, a part of me wondered. The first day on site unfolded under blinding sun and mosquitoes that felt like they'd drill through your soul. I sat behind the radio, eyes glued to a map, relaying orders to the crew. Sweat drenched my shirt, and I pictured the cool hum of my family's ceiling fan, the rich aroma of Grandma's Sunday coffee. But the jungle allowed no daydreams. Each thud of hammers on stakes, the generator's rumble, pulled you into a wild rhythm with no retreat. At night, flashlight beams cast flickering rays, painting the tent walls with dancing shadows. We huddled around a small fire, sharing cold MREs, swapping stories of Tennessee or New York, Burger King, and neon signs. In those moments, cassette music bridged two worlds, freedom and comfort on one side, jungle, dampness, and danger on the other. The guys laughed, but their eyes betrayed a quiet unease. One dusky afternoon, as the sun stained the sky red and flocks of chattering birds flew home, I got orders to check progress. The radio crackled with urgency. "Jake, verify stakes 12 and 30. I hopped into a pickup, bouncing down a winding dirt path, tires carving long streaks in red earth. Leaves slapped the truck. Insects buzzed with the engine's hum, a noisy yet oddly lonely sound. At the site, I flicked on my flashlight, its beam cutting through a puddle left by a shower. The ground was mushy, my boot prints sinking, as if the jungle tracked my every step. I took a deep breath, inhaling mossy dampness and lingering herbicide. Memories of my warm living room, Bon Jovi's guitar, a burger's savory scent flashed through my mind. I told myself, finish this, and I'm home. Back to music, maybe even a prime MRE with sauce like a cheeseburger. But the jungle doesn't let you leave easily. In the flashlight's glow, tree shadows swayed unnaturally, wind hissing like whispers. I froze, senses taut as a bowstring. The air stilled, only my breath audible. A chill gripped me as if eyes watched my every move. I lowered the light, peering into the inky void beyond the path, where thick foliage hid all. Before I could steady myself, a faint hiss pierced the air. Not bird, not insect, but something alien. It felt like a warning from the jungle's depths. I stood rooted, heart pounding, watching a wisp of white vapor rise from the darkness, impossible in the humid heat. Tennessee memories vanished, leaving only reality. A supernatural presence lurked, biding its time. I stepped back, fighting to stay calm, hand twitching toward my rifle but holding off. The radio crackled in my pocket. "Jake, what's up? Report now." I swallowed hard, staring into the void as if to face the enemy. In that moment, I knew I wasn't just part of a distant political war. I was facing a mystery beyond imagination, one that would forever change Jake Thompson, radio operator from Tennessee. A thin morning mist still clung to the leaves as our patrol team left the makeshift base. I slung a heavy pack over my shoulders, boots sloshing on a trail tangled with roots that snaked up like invisible tentacles. The Honduran jungle air was thick, a damp, moldy scent wrapping each breath, drenching every step in sweat. Ancient trees towered so high that dawn's sunlight slipped through only in narrow slivers, casting shimmering flecks on our tents, yet failing to dispel the eerie, isolating gloom. Our footsteps mingled with the ceaseless chirp of insects, punctuated by strange bird calls, echoing through the canopy, stirring a sense that unseen eyes watched from behind. In our team, just me and 3 others handled radio comms. We took turns leading, eyes scanning rotted bamboo thickets, wondering what might lurk beyond. The smell of wet earth, decaying leaves, and faint campfire smoke fused into a stifling haze, making my heart pound faster than usual. Patrolling the border was nothing like base training. Here, no lines marked where Honduras ended and Nicaragua began. No barbed wire to clarify territory. Only the Rio Coco River, winding like a silver ribbon, divided nations. Our mission: trek its banks, check for scenes, ensure no illegal activity crossed. But in the jungle, a misstep cracked the rhythm, dry leaves crunching underfoot, stretching nerves taut as a bowstring. By noon, as sunlight pierced the forest in small patches, I powered up the radio to check the battery. Hourly checks were now a ritual, almost a prayer. Crackle, squad, 3, 4, my voice rasped. Then the small screen flashed low battery, the crackle fading to a weak hiss before dying. Glancing at the team, I muttered, "Radio's dead, right when we could use some jungle ghost stories." The guys chuckled, one jabbing another about how seeing El Diablo's fine, but a dead radio means we're cut off. We paused by a small stream, scarfing MREs handed out that morning. The cold, soggy onions and mushy ham made everyone grimace. I quipped, "MREs are like wet bread. When'll they invent humane flavors?" A soldier smirked. "Out here, the jungle's ice rocks are gourmet." Laughter echoed through the old forest, a fleeting bid to stay upbeat, though we all knew these meals were far from easing our longing for Burger King or Tennessee's car horns. Before we could pack up, the radio hissed, spitting a broken voice. "Spotted! Boat! Rio Coco! Tonight!" I scrambled to restart it, straining to catch the rest. "Sounds like a small boat sneaking across the border," a teammate said, voice taut with excitement. I spread our tattered map, finger tracing a sharp bend in the Rio Coco where currents surged. "We need to check this spot. Could be weapons or refugees," I said, forcing calm into my tone. But the jungle offered no safe distance. Humid heat clung to skin, sweat stinging my eyes. A distant noise rumbled as if something massive lumbered through brush. I held my breath, ears straining for each creak of dry branches, feeling even a pebble underfoot might echo for miles. Peering ahead, I spotted black monkeys scampering on high branches, their glinting eyes like taunts to a uniformed wanderer. We moved silently through dense forest, chasing the radio's faint signal. Wind whistled through leaves, carrying distant calls, and I swore I heard the river's ripples, though it was hundreds of yards away. Thoughts of family, the missed Super Bowl, cold beer, and friends' cheers surfaced, only to be drowned by the sense of being watched. Every bush seemed to hold its breath, shadows shifted in flashlight beams, and a faint hiss, not wind but like a slow, dragging breath, echoed from somewhere. At the riverbank, we crouched, shielding flashlights to avoid notice. The current churned, moonlight carving a crescent on the water. I raised infrared binoculars, scanning the banks for the mystery boat. Only dead logs and wilted reeds appeared. In that moment, isolation gripped me. We were specks in a vast wilderness, and something else, not human, not gunfire, was silently watching. The radio flared again, a curt voice. "Stay sharp, report position, don't leave tracks." I whispered back, "Roger, starting sweep." But before we could move, a sharp crack rang out behind, like a rope snapping against dry wood. We spun, hearts hammering. The air froze, only our ragged breaths and rustling leaves audible. For a moment we locked eyes, realizing this patrol wasn't just about smuggler boats. It might be our first encounter with a mystery beyond any command's plan. Beneath the silvery moonlight draping Subura's thatched roofs, you sit beside Livia on her third-floor apartment's porch, where the summer heat of 80 AD has softened, leaving profound lessons etched in the community's heart. The scent of damp earth from an earlier rain blends with dry bread inside, crafting a tranquil space after grueling summer days. Livia, her tunica dirt-streaked, hair loosely tied, cradles a sleeping Flavia, the 6-year-old clutching her cloth doll, healthy after fever thanks to herbs and Tiber water. Lucius, the 10-year-old, dozes on the straw mattress, his wooden boat carving fallen beside him, while Gaius, her husband, snores softly, exhausted from the brickworks. Feel the cool stillness, like a whisper that summer's past. Today you'll join Livia to reflect on her journey through heat, pondering her legacy and lessons, closing with a goodnight from Subura. Ready to end this story? Livia gazes skyward, her eyes bright as if embracing past days. Remember when heat turned Subura into a furnace, when she counted each well water drop, nursed Flavia through fever, sought shade under a fig tree. She led you through stifling streets, the Tiber, sleepless nights always resilient, not for Jupiter or rain rituals, but for family and community. See her strength, a flame unquenched by scorching heat? She's no hero in scrolls, just a mother, wife, a piece of Subura, her legacy one of perseverance, kindness, faith. Ever seen an ordinary person leave a mark through small acts? Livia does, and you're here on the porch, with her, revisiting that journey. Subura, under moonlight, glimmers with life. You hear children's laughter, Claudia's grumbling about fish, Emilia's folk song. This community survived heat, not through gods, but through people like Livia, who fetched well water. Titus's herbs, Tiber's hope. Feel Subura's pulse, sustained by small gestures, brief rain, Claudia's fish scrap, Titus's leather strip. Livia's part of that pulse, teaching Lucius to share water, Flavia to tie straw, Subura that unity outlasts heat. Ever seen a community become family through adversity? You see it now under moonlight with Livia. Livia shares, her voice low like a lullaby, how her mother said, "Heat's a blade, but kindness is a shield." Recall her spooning broth for Flavia, standing firm through sleepless nights, sharing market bread. She learned from her mother, great-grandmother, Subura, passing to her children. Not gold, but resilience. Hear the lesson, forged by wells, the Tiber, harsh summer days. Livia doesn't promise ease. She promises her family will endure, as she did through heat, illness, light rain. Ever seen a lesson become a legacy for generations? Livia makes, and you're here in the cramped room with her feeling that strength. Heat taught Livia, and through her, you, that people outshine nature when united. You saw her haul water, share with neighbors, sing to Flavia, a fire never dimmed. Want a quirky detail? Romans believed Vulcan brought heat to test them. Only Jupiter's rain could save. Livia trusted Subura, Claudia, Aemilia, Lucius. Sharing to survive. Ever realized kindness can outmatch miracles. Livia realized, and you're here on the porch with her, carrying that lesson. Livia's legacy isn't gold or temples. It's Flavia growing fearless of heat, Lucius learning to share, Subura knowing strength in unity. Her gentle yet firm gaze under moonlight seems to know you've walked this summer with her. Rome is us, she whispers, not to you but to days past. Get it? She didn't just survive, she shaped a community, a family, a future. What will you take from her story? Livia's grit, Subura's kindness, or the lesson that heat's a blade, but we're the shield. Ever seen an ordinary woman change the world? Livia did, and you're here under moonlight with her. Close your eyes, friend. Let the breeze, Subura's children's laughter, Livia's lullaby guide you to sleep. You've seen a mother lead her family through fire, a community stand by kindness, an unyielding Rome. Good night, my friend. This story closes, but Livia's light, her flame of resilience, kindness, faith, stays with you like moonlight on Subura's streets. As dawn's faint glow struggled to pierce the dense jungle canopy, the order for silence crackled through the base's loudspeakers. I, Jake Thompson, and my team hastily packed, setting out for Sotokano Air Base. The winding red dirt road led us over low hills, along streams, through forest so thick that morning sun slipped through only in slivers. Each engine roar in the eerie quiet was a reminder. The mission by the Rio Coco was not to be mentioned, recorded, or discussed beyond command's reach. Isolation hit harder back at the base's normal life. Other soldiers offered curt nods, returning to coffee and paperwork. Soto Kano's morning hush was uncanny, broken only by the air conditioner's drone and faint weather reports. I felt adrift among blank faces, where every tale followed a censored script. Nothing happened at Rio Coco, the official report's sole line. Yet, in that silence, fear of El Diablo grew in my mind. I couldn't shake the image of its coiled black scales, ember red eyes, or the horror of a cow's bones snapping under its grip. Walking the base's long corridors, I swore I heard that faint hiss, not wind or machinery, but a sound from deep within, warning that the creature still lingered, biding its time. The secrecy order echoed cover-ups of old, Area 51's rumored alien tech, secret weapons tests never logged. I'd heard tales of military complexes hiding wild stories, shrouded in doubt. Now, I was a link in that chain of secrets. In tense moments, we laughed to stay sane. Lieutenant Sanders, cheerful but directionally hopeless, nearly got canned after wandering the base, only to end up at the front desk, asking for the medic's office. We joked he'd get lost in these endless halls without jungle to guide him. Major Wilson, leading my debrief, loved ribbing Air Force pilots who got cushy hotel quarters while we ground troops shared tents. 5-star hotels for flyboys while we lived like gorillas, I quipped to a teammate, both of us chuckling. But laughter faded at night. Soto Kano's floodlights didn't banish the dark's flicker, making the base feel shadowed. Steps past the armory stirred a watched feeling. I'd pause, staring at concrete walls, wondering about hidden cameras. Above all, the serpent loomed, its sudden appearance, bone-crunching power, the cow's demise. Nightmares haunted me, lost in the jungle, faint moon above, something massive groaning behind. I'd reach for my rifle, but in dreams it vanished, leaving me with raw fear. Mornings I woke sweat-soaked, wondering if these were memories or warnings from El Diablo. The gag order barred sharing with family, friends, anyone outside authorized ranks. I kept a coded journal hidden in a hardcover, jotting, "Unearthed the inexplicable." Flipping its pages, my eyes welled, not just for the supernatural, but the loneliness of silenced truth. In briefings, I could only mention an unidentified object on the shore. No one wanted tales of a 10-meter snake. Fear would tarnish the army's polished image. In this proxy war, everything was measured, weapons issued, news released. El Diablo would be sidelined for dry stats, maps, and curt remarks. Yet rumors swirled among soldiers of a field hospital where survivors were treated, none speaking fully, of patrols never returning, of classified files buried in sand before withdrawal. Each tale sent shivers, making me wonder, would my story be forgotten under layers of secrecy? One day, in the small comms room, a teammate whispered, "Heard medics at the lake saw dragon fins, like giant snake scales." Their eyes mixed hope and dread. I bowed my head, murmuring, "Hope one day even a sliver of truth comes out." But then the phone rang and Major Wilson scanned a report. "No leaks, Jake. This stays top secret." I nodded agreement, but inwardly questioned, would anyone dare pierce the silence? History's cover-ups, Roswell's UFO, Watergate, eventually surfaced after years. For El Diablo, I wasn't sure that day would come. Another evening, as the sun sank behind distant mountains, I stood on the dorm's second-floor balcony. A breeze carried jungle dampness. I watched dim yellow lights, tree shadows on the ground, and thought, no matter how secret fear and awe endure, that serpent wasn't just a creature, it was a reminder of human limits. I turned, stepping into the dark, quietly bracing for another day in a life split between secrets and silence. The heavy iron door creaked shut behind me, sealing the interrogation room deep within Soto Kano's command center, far from the base's bright corridors and stately meeting halls. I, Jake Thompson, felt the air turn stifling. A black-painted round table sat in the modest room's center, two metal chairs facing each other, poised for a tense showdown between me and Major Wilson. A fluorescent bulb dangled from the ceiling, its cold white glare exposing every speck of dirt, every dust mote in the room's corners. Major Wilson entered, his uniform pristine, creases sharp as if ironed moments ago. His icy eyes locked onto mine, piercing with a razor's edge. His high-bridged nose, thin lips, and square jaw twitched faintly when anger flared. His boots clacked on the concrete floor, his voice dropping low as he sat across from me. "Thompson, recount the incident. This time, stick exactly to what you were told." My heart pounded, each beat echoing like a war drum in my ears. My throat burned dry, but I forced a steady tone. "Sir, we found an object washed ashore by the river." Wilson's hand shot up, cutting me off. "No, no object washed ashore. No giant snake, no crushed cow. Just you and your team seeing shadows, imagining nonsense." The glaring light tightened my nerves. I bit my lip, stifling anger and fear. My mind flashed to Mom in Nashville, her silver hair, gentle eyes glued to our small TV during Super Bowl. I saw her cheer as our team scored, hugging me tight despite my 30 years. The memory made me swallow hard, steadying my breath to hide any waver. Wilson slapped a file on the table, pages stamped confidential in bold red ink. He flipped them deliberately, then fixed me with a stare. "You know the consequences of leaking unauthorized info, don't you? Don't make yourself a failure of a soldier. Got it?" I nodded, fighting a tremble. His words landed like a sledgehammer. Disobey, and my career ends, maybe even facing court-martial. I thought of my cozy armchair at home, watching Super Bowl with friends, sipping cold beer, munching crispy fries. The stadium's roar through the broadcast now felt worlds away, replaced by fluorescent glare and Wilson's stern face. He pressed on. "I want to hear you say, 'I saw a small boat, nothing dangerous.' Say it exactly." His voice growled each syllable, rigging a timed bomb to my words. My throat clogged, but I had to comply. "Sir, I saw a small boat," I muttered, voice unnatural. Wilson nodded curtly, slamming the file. "Good. I'll log it. A small boat washed ashore at Rio Coco. No anomalies. Memorize that because it's what goes public." I sat frozen, thinking of my patrol team. They'd shared danger, the terror of facing El Diablo. Who'd preserve their memory if I erased the truth? Pressure crushed my chest, suffocating. I recalled their trusting eyes, their sacrifice to save a cow, to protect each other. Could courage and camaraderie mean anything if I betrayed them? Wilson stood abruptly, swiveling his chair to a barred window where sunlight grazed a few inches of concrete wall. He cleared his throat. "Thompson, the Army needs discipline and information control. You're not a reporter. You're a soldier. Your job is to obey, not chase truth." He turned, emphasizing, "Anyone stirring chaos will be branded a traitor." "Clear?" I nodded hard, though helplessness churned inside. But then my mind sparked with family. Dad, withered from the Asian War, watching me through a window. My sister, eyes bright, cheering our team's win. Friends' laughter in a Memphis bar. A wound tore at my heart. Would they grasp that I, Jake Thompson, saw something beyond reason, a giant serpent, El Diablo, yet had to choke back the truth to save myself? The room's air thickened. I drew a deep breath, turning guilt into calm. I met Wilson's gaze, legs trembling under the table. "Sir, I confirm I'll share nothing beyond the directed report." He smirked, a flicker of satisfaction, then gestured for me to sign the log. The recorder clicked on, its dry beep filling the room. I grabbed the pen, scrawling on blank paper. At 02:30 on date, at Rio Coco's banks, I observed a small boat ashore. No anomalies, no dangerous creatures detected. Each word built a brick in a wall of lies. I wondered how high it would rise before crumbling. When the log was done, Wilson tore the paper, handing me half to keep. His voice was low. "Hold this copy. It doesn't exist beyond command." I took the cold sheet, my heart bleeding betrayal of my team, my conscience, the memories of a soldier who believed in justice. The room fell silent, the wall clock's ticks deafening, reminding me time waits for no one. I thought of the missed Super Bowl, the crowd's roar, peaceful moments now distant. Would the truth about El Diablo ever surface when this war ended? Or would it stay buried with classified files? My oath of silence. Leaving the room, the outside light felt blinding. My steps dragged, shoulders heavy with unshared secrets. I vowed to preserve the truest memory, locked deep in my soul. Though the silence order forced my lies, my heart beat with Honduras's wild pulse, where El Diablo still lurked, waiting to expose the deceits of those who guard secrets. The journey back to Fort Campbell hung heavy, as if Honduras's hot winds trailed us across the flight. When the C-130 touched down on Kentucky's familiar runway, I, Jake Thompson, felt homesickness choke me. Fort Campbell was no stranger, but the Rio Coco mission made every corner of the airbase feel alien. Floodlights and silent helicopters seemed to eavesdrop on untold secrets. Baggage clattered on the conveyor, and I slipped out my notebook, its pages smudged with coded notes about an unidentified object. I glanced up, seeing rows of trusty Humvees, my jungle-dusted uniform still crisp. The scent of engine oil and army boots mingled with the cool afternoon air, quickening my pulse. En route to the barracks, I ran into Sergeant Morales, a Honduran-born soldier who'd served with Special Forces. He moved with ease, his eyes flickering with mystery as I greeted him. "Hey, Jake, heard you're back from Rio Coco," Morales began, voice a near whisper. I nodded, staring out the window. He raised an eyebrow as if to say more, then let slip. "Locals call it El Coco, but to the natives, El Diablo fits better." His words sent a shiver through me, as if the giant serpent still slithered nearby. Fort Campbell gleamed grander than any base I'd known. Red brick buildings, sleek basketball courts, a bustling central cafe warming a reservist's heart. Yet, despite the comforts, I felt adrift. Each evening, I sought a quiet training area corner, flipping through my notebook, chasing its cryptic lines. Some details I dared not write, the cow's bones snapping, scales scraping stone, red eyes piercing my soul. Rumors of El Diablo spread among soldiers. They whispered, "Some guy from Honduras saw a giant snake." Curious glances wove an invisible thread. Some scoffed, calling it a tall tale in an era of fake news. Others bought it, recounting native legends. Before Spanish explorers reached Rio Coco, villagers spoke of a god snake, Chawapiba, swallower of thunder, stretching miles. Revered and feared, it linked the human and jungle spirit worlds. I heard these tales over mess hall chatter amid sizzling burgers' aroma. Once a teammate asked, "Jake, true you saw a snake as long as a truck?" I hesitated, eyes on the hidden notebook. I dodged, just what I was ordered to report. They nodded, laughing as if I'd pulled an April Fool's prank. I bit into my burger, swallowing disappointment. But Hondurans, like Morales, didn't let it fade to jest. He said, "Natives believe the giant snake never dies. It hides under the river, listening to gunfire, waiting to surface for revenge." His earnest gaze silenced my doubts. Myth or not, unease gnawed my heart. Fort Campbell's clinic bustled with muscle injuries and mosquito-borne infections, but none claimed combat trauma, except me. I thought nightmares were stress, but headaches flared with rain, and darkness loomed even in lit halls, echoing that horrific night with El Diablo. Fearing a delusional label, I stayed silent, forcing smiles for the nurse. Re-enlistment day, I queued with eager young soldiers. Even in the crowd, eyes probed when Rio Coco came up. I wondered if anyone believed me or saw it as dramatic fiction. But I knew what happened wasn't myth, but a fearsome sacred force. One weekend evening, I resolved to write my full experience. In my small room, under dim yellow light, I typed jungle images, insect hums, isolation under canopies. I detailed the serpent, its coiling body like a machine, black scales, red eyes, bone-cracking sound. I wrote of the silence order, guilt for lying to Major Wilson, dread hearing Morales say El Diablo. But where to share it? Official channels demanded censorship, shunning unverified tales. I feared tainting the Army's reputation, yet couldn't stay silent. I thought of American audiences, lovers of supernatural stories, thrilled by legends and human bravery. I vowed, if I post internally, it'll vanish. It needs public platforms where people can hear, share, question. So I turned to Veteran Hot Stories on YouTube, a channel sharing battlefield tales, unsolved mysteries, and human lessons. I drafted an email, attaching a summary and Rio Coco map, and hit send. My heart raced, hoping El Diablo wouldn't stay buried. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and share this story with friends to spread a message of courage and hidden truths. You may doubt the supernatural, but surely you value teamwork and bravery facing the unexplainable. Let El Diablo testify to what lies beyond human understanding and prove that anywhere above or below ground, courage lights the path to truth. Thanks for your time, and see you in the next episode.